What if the reason people don't respect you has nothing to do with them and everything to do with you? What if you're unknowingly teaching the world to overlook you? Right now, in the next few minutes, something might sting. Because the truth is uncomfortable, we say we want respect, we demand it, we complain about not getting it. But respect is not granted to those who ask for it. It is given to those who embody it, and most people are unconsciously signaling the opposite of what they want. Here's the uncomfortable reality: people don't disrespect you randomly. They respond to the standards you demonstrate. Every time you tolerate something beneath your values, every time you break a promise to yourself, every time you stay silent when you should speak, you cast a vote against your own authority. Respect is not about dominance. It's not about being louder. It's not about intimidating others. True respect is quiet. It's steady. It's rooted in character. And character is built in moments no one sees. If you constantly seek approval, you communicate insecurity. If you avoid difficult conversations, you communicate weakness. If you say yes when you mean no, you communicate that your time and energy are negotiable. And people treat negotiable things casually. But here's the empowering part. The moment you change your internal standards, the external world shifts, not overnight, not magically, but inevitably. Because respect is a mirror, it reflects how you treat yourself. Think about the people you respect most. They don't chase validation. They don't over-explain themselves. They don't beg to be heard. They stand grounded in their values. They move with intention. Their words align with their actions. And alignment builds trust. Today, you're going to learn 3 powerful habits that transform how others see you, fast. Not through manipulation, not through performance, but through internal discipline. This is not about becoming someone else. It's about removing the behaviors that quietly sabotage your authority. If you're ready to stop being underestimated, if you're tired of being overlooked, if you want people to listen when you speak, stay with me. Because the first habit will challenge how you see yourself, and it changes everything. The first habit is this: keep the promises you make to yourself. It sounds simple, almost too simple, but it is the foundation of personal authority. And without personal authority, respect is impossible. Most people break promises to themselves every single day. They say they'll wake up early. They hit snooze. They say they'll start the project. They procrastinate. They say they'll go to the gym. They skip it. And each time, something small erodes inside them. Here's what's really happening. When you repeatedly break promises to yourself, your brain stops trusting you. And when you don't trust you, your posture changes, your tone changes, your energy shifts. You hesitate, you over-explain, you seek reassurance, and people can feel that. Respect begins internally. Imagine 2 individuals. One says, "I'll call you tomorrow," and they do. "I'll be there at 7, and they arrive at 6:55. "I'll finish this by Friday," and it's done Thursday night. The other makes the same statements but follows through only when convenient. Who do you trust more? Trust is the currency of respect, and trust starts with self-discipline. This doesn't mean you become perfect overnight. It means you start small. You make 1 commitment today, 1, and you keep it, even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. Because discipline is not about motivation. It's about identity. Every time you follow through, you cast a vote for the type of person you are becoming. Someone reliable, someone steady, someone whose word carries weight. And when your word carries weight with yourself, it carries weight with others. People respect those who respect their own commitments. They sense alignment. They sense certainty. There's no frantic energy, no scrambling to compensate, just quiet consistency. Let me tell you something powerful. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. If your system allows excuses, your confidence collapses. If your system demands follow-through, your presence strengthens. So start here. Choose 1 standard. Wake up when you say you will. Finish what you start. Speak only what you intend to honor, not for applause, not for recognition, but because every kept promise rebuilds your self-trust. And self-trust is the first pillar of unshakable respect. The second habit will challenge how you allow others to treat you. And it's where most people quietly lose their power. The second habit is this: stop rewarding behavior you don't respect. Most people lose respect not because others are cruel, but because they tolerate what violates their standards. Think about it. Someone interrupts you repeatedly, you laugh it off. Someone shows up late again and again. You say, "It's fine." Someone speaks to you with subtle sarcasm or dismissiveness. You ignore it to keep the peace. And in that moment, you teach them something. You teach them how to treat you. People are constantly testing boundaries, not maliciously, but instinctively. They are trying to understand the limits of your standards. And when there are no clear limits, they expand. Respect requires boundaries. Now, boundaries are not ultimatums. They're not threats. They are not emotional explosions. Boundaries are calm, clear standards communicated through behavior. If someone interrupts you, you don't attack them. You simply continue speaking. Or you say calmly, "Let me finish." If someone is consistently late, you start without them. If someone disrespects your time, you reduce their access to it. No drama, no anger, just alignment. Here's where most people struggle. They confuse being liked with being respected. They want harmony, they want approval, they want to avoid discomfort. So they shrink, they soften their words, they swallow their truth. But when you avoid necessary tension, you create long-term resentment inside yourself and in the relationship. Courage builds respect. When you calmly enforce a boundary, you send a powerful message: I value myself. And when you value yourself, others adjust. Will everyone like it? No. But the people who matter, the people who are capable of healthy respect, will rise to meet your standards. Let me give you a deeper truth. If you don't protect your time, your energy, and your values, no one else will. Because people respond to clarity, they respond to consistency, they respond to quiet confidence. And confidence isn't loud, it doesn't shout, it doesn't threaten. It simply stands firm. You don't need to argue to be respected. You don't need to dominate the room. You need to demonstrate through repeated behavior what is acceptable in your presence. Every time you allow something beneath your standard, you dilute your authority. Every time you calmly enforce a boundary, you strengthen it. Respect grows where standards are clear. And the third habit is the one that transforms how people feel when you walk into a room. Before you even say a word, the third habit is this: speak with conviction, or don't speak at all. Most people lose respect in the first few seconds of opening their mouth, not because their ideas are weak, but because their delivery is uncertain. They begin sentences with, "I think." They soften statements with, "Maybe this is wrong," but they end strong points with nervous laughter. And without realizing it, they dilute their own authority. Conviction is not about arrogance. It's about clarity. When you speak with conviction, you are not saying you are always right. You are saying you have thought about what you believe. You are grounded in it. You are not fishing for approval. There is a massive difference between confidence and aggression. Aggression pushes. Confidence stands. Aggression needs to win. Confidence needs only to express truth clearly. Think about the people whose words carry weight. They pause before speaking. They don't rush. They don't over-explain. They say what they mean, and then they stop. Silence, when used intentionally, multiplies respect. When you finish a sentence and allow it to breathe, you communicate certainty. When you rush to fill silence, you communicate insecurity. And here's something most people never realize. Your body speaks before your mouth does. If your shoulders collapse, if your eye contact flickers, if your voice trails upward at the end of statements, you signal doubt. And people respond to doubt cautiously. But when your posture is upright, your breathing steady, your tone measured, your presence shifts. You don't need louder words. You need steadier energy. Let me tell you a story. There was a young leader in a room full of senior executives. Brilliant ideas, strong analysis. But every time he presented, he rushed. He apologized before making a point. He reacted quickly when challenged. And people dismissed him, not because he lacked intelligence, but because he lacked composure. The day he changed was simple. He slowed down. He removed unnecessary qualifiers. He paused after key statements. He answered objections without defensiveness. Nothing about his knowledge changed, but everything about how he was perceived did. Respect often has less to do with what you say, and more to do with how grounded you are when you say it. When your words, tone, and body align, people feel it. And when people feel certainty, they lean in. But here's the deeper level, the advanced layer most never reach. Conviction must be rooted in values, and that's where we're going next. Conviction without values is noise. Anyone can sound confident. Anyone can memorize powerful phrases. Anyone can project strength for a moment. But if there is no internal compass guiding your words, that confidence collapses under pressure. This is where respect becomes rare, because real respect is not built in moments of comfort. It is built in moments of tension, when the room disagrees with you, when standing firm costs you approval, when staying silent would be easier. Values are the standards you refuse to negotiate. Most people think they have values, but what they really have are preferences. Preferences change when pressure increases. Values do not. If honesty is your value, you tell the truth even when it's inconvenient. If discipline is your value, you follow through even when you're tired. If integrity is your value, you act the same in private as you do in public. And here is the truth. People watch what you tolerate when it's hard. Imagine a leader who speaks about teamwork but takes credit alone, or someone who preaches punctuality but arrives late. The inconsistency is subtle, but devastating. Because inconsistency destroys trust faster than failure ever could. You do not lose respect for making mistakes. You lose respect for abandoning your standards. Advanced respect is built on alignment. Alignment between what you say and what you do. Alignment between what you believe and how you behave. Alignment between your private choices and your public image. When those align, your presence changes. There is no internal conflict, no nervous energy, no overcompensation. You are steady because you are congruent. And congruence creates authority. Let me challenge you with something deeper. If someone offered you immediate popularity in exchange for compromising one of your core values, would you take it? Many people do. Quietly, repeatedly. They laugh at jokes that violate their standards. They agree with opinions they don't believe. They stay silent when integrity requires courage. And each compromise feels small, but small compromises accumulate. And eventually, you don't recognize yourself. The most respected individuals are not the most liked in every room. They are the most consistent across all rooms. When you define your values clearly, and live them visibly, you remove confusion. People may disagree with you, but they understand you. Clarity commands respect. And when your values are clear, something powerful happens. Decision-making becomes easier. Boundaries become stronger. Your voice becomes steadier. Because you are no longer reacting to the room. You are responding from identity. And identity-driven behavior is unshakable. Now we move into something even more advanced. How emotional control determines whether respect lasts or disappears in seconds. Emotional control is where respect is either solidified or shattered. You can have discipline. You can have boundaries. You can speak with conviction. But if your emotions control you in critical moments, everything collapses. Respect is not tested when things are easy. It is tested when you are challenged. When someone criticizes you publicly, when a plan fails, when you feel misunderstood, when pressure rises and eyes are watching, most people react, they defend, they interrupt, they raise their voice, they let frustration leak into their tone. And in that instant, they surrender power. Because when your emotions control your behavior, others control your emotions. Emotional control is not suppression. It's not pretending you don't feel anger, disappointment, or frustration. It's the ability to feel fully, without reacting impulsively. There's a massive difference. Reactive people are predictable, and predictable reactions are easy to manipulate. Grounded people are stable, and stability commands respect. Imagine two leaders receiving harsh criticism. The first immediately explains, justifies, interrupts. Their body stiffens. The room senses insecurity. The second listens fully, maintains eye contact, pauses, then responds calmly. That's fair feedback. Here's how I see it. Same criticism, completely different outcome. The difference is emotional regulation. When you remain composed under pressure, you signal strength, not physical strength, not dominance, emotional strength. And emotional strength makes people feel safe. Safety is deeply connected to respect. People respect those who are steady because steadiness creates trust. You know where they stand. You know they won't explode unpredictably. You know they won't crumble under stress. Let me take this deeper. Your nervous system communicates before your words do. If your breathing becomes shallow, if your tone sharpens, if your posture tightens, the room feels tension. But when your breathing remains slow, your tone measured, your expression calm, even in conflict, you control the emotional climate. That is power. Emotional control gives you choice. Choice in how you respond, choice in when you speak, choice in what you amplify. Without it, you are driven by impulse. With it, you are driven by intention, and intention builds authority. Here's a simple but advanced practice. When challenged, pause before responding, 1 breath, 2 seconds. That pause alone separates reactive individuals from respected ones, because respect grows in restraint. Anyone can explode, anyone can defend, anyone can blame, but very few can remain composed when their ego feels threatened, and the people who can become unshakable. Now we move to the next level, how strategic silence and selective attention multiply respect without saying a word. Silence is one of the most underestimated tools of power. Most people talk too much, they over-explain. They defend unnecessarily. They fill every pause with nervous words. They try to convince instead of embody. And in doing so, they reduce their impact. Here is something counterintuitive. The more you chase understanding, the less people value your words. Strategic silence creates weight. When you don't respond to every comment, people lean in. When you don't defend every criticism, people reconsider. When you don't argue with every opinion, people begin to measure their own words more carefully. Silence is not weakness, it is restraint, and restraint signals control. Think about moments when someone makes a passive-aggressive remark. Most people rush to defend themselves. They explain, they justify, they escalate. But what happens when you simply look at them calmly and say nothing? The discomfort shifts. The weight of the moment moves back to them. Because attention is currency. And when you give attention to negativity, you reward it. Selective attention is advanced emotional intelligence. If someone thrives on provoking reactions, your silence starves their influence. If someone seeks validation through confrontation, your calm indifference removes their stage. You don't need to win every exchange. You need to choose which exchanges deserve your energy. Here's a powerful principle. What you respond to grows. Respond to gossip, it spreads. Respond to disrespect with emotion, it intensifies. Respond to drama, it multiplies. But when you calmly disengage from low-value behavior, you elevate your position without force. This does not mean avoiding necessary conversations. It means distinguishing between reaction and response. Reactive silence is avoidance. Strategic silence is composure. There is strength in finishing your point and not rushing to fill the air. There is strength in letting someone reveal their character fully before you speak. There is strength in walking away from arguments that don't align with your standards. Not every battle deserves your presence. Let me challenge you. How often do you argue to prove you're right? How often do you reply instantly because you fear being misunderstood? How often do you try to fix perceptions instead of letting consistency correct them over time? True authority does not panic under misinterpretation. It trusts pattern over moment. When you master silence, your words become rarer, and rare words carry value. People listen more carefully when they know you speak intentionally. And here's the deeper layer. When your attention becomes selective, your focus sharpens. You stop wasting energy on noise. You start investing it in growth. And that shift transforms not only how others see you, but how you see yourself. Now we move into something critical, how competence and continuous growth make respect sustainable, not temporary. Competence is the foundation that transforms initial respect into lasting authority. People can admire confidence, enforce boundaries, and master emotional control. But without skill, knowledge, and results, respect is fragile. It flickers at the first sign of failure. Think about it when someone demonstrates expertise. People instinctively pay attention. When someone consistently delivers results, people instinctively trust them. When someone's actions match their words, respect solidifies naturally. Competence is not about perfection. It's about consistent progress. It's about showing up prepared, informed, and ready to contribute value. It's about building a track record that others can rely on. The problem is, most people overestimate charisma and underestimate capability. They think a strong voice or a bold stance is enough to earn authority. For a moment, it may fool the room, but eventually results, or lack thereof, expose truth. Here's the crucial point: mastery creates invisible credibility. You don't have to demand recognition, it follows naturally. People respect what works. People respect what endures. People respect those who can navigate challenges, solve problems, and produce outcomes under pressure. Continuous growth compounds that respect. Every skill you refine, every area you improve, every lesson you apply adds layers to your authority. Stagnation, by contrast, erodes it. Even small, consistent effort signals discipline and purpose, reinforcing how seriously people take you. Competence also inspires confidence in others. When your team, your peers, or your circles see that you know what you're doing, they follow. They trust your judgment. They look to you for guidance, and that trust becomes a magnet for influence and respect. But here's where most people stumble: they confuse occasional brilliance with consistent competence. One brilliant project doesn't establish authority. One bold speech doesn't guarantee credibility. True respect is built over time, in the details, in the repeated demonstrations that you can deliver when it matters most. Let me give you a simple rule: under promise, over deliver, and follow through. It's the fastest way to build undeniable respect. Every commitment you fulfill adds weight to your presence. Every skill you sharpen increases the value of your voice. Every problem you solve quietly strengthens your authority. Now, here's the advanced layer. Competence alone is not enough if it isn't paired with integrity, emotional control, and alignment with values. People may admire your skill, but they will not respect you fully if your behavior undermines trust. The combination of capability and character is unstoppable. So the question becomes, what are you consistently developing today that will make people respect you tomorrow? Because respect is earned, but mastery makes it permanent. Next, we dive into the invisible forces that accelerate respect, how your presence, energy, and consistency communicate power before a single word is spoken. Presence is the silent language of respect. It's not what you say, but how you exist in a room. It's the energy you carry before you speak, the calm confidence in your posture, the alignment between your body, your words, and your intentions. Most people underestimate presence because it feels intangible. But it is measurable by the way people lean in when you enter, the way conversations pause, the way attention naturally gravitates toward you. Presence signals authority without a single word. Think about a highly skilled, competent person without presence can be ignored. A confident speaker with no alignment can be doubted. But when presence, competence, and character converge, people don't just listen, they follow. Presence starts with self-awareness. You must know how you carry yourself in every situation. Are your shoulders relaxed or slouched? Is your gaze steady or wandering? Is your voice calm or erratic? These cues send signals before your mouth even opens. Next, presence requires energy management. Respect is drawn to steady energy, not emotional highs and lows. People feel grounded individuals as reliable, calm, and unshakable. They unconsciously attribute authority to that energy because it communicates stability and control. But presence also thrives on consistency. Inconsistency kills. If you are confident one day, insecure the next, composed now, reactive later, you confuse people. They cannot predict your standards, and unpredictability undermines authority. Consistency tells people, this is who I am, this is how I operate, you can trust me. Here's the subtle truth. People respect what they cannot manipulate. Presence creates a boundary between your internal world and external pressures. It's the difference between reacting to the room and commanding it. Another layer. Presence magnifies all other habits. Emotional control, strategic silence, competence. They all shine brighter when your presence is grounded. It's the amplifier of authority. Without it, even your strongest skills can go unnoticed. So how do you cultivate it? Start small, stand tall, breathe deeply, move with intention, speak slowly and clearly, remove nervous habits that leak insecurity. Observe how people respond and refine. Presence is learned, practiced, and embodied over time. Advanced practitioners understand that presence is also about what you don't do. You don't fidget. You don't over-explain. You don't chase attention. Your energy alone commands it. When you master presence, people feel your authority before you even speak. They instinctively respect your standards, trust your competence, and notice your alignment. The final section will reveal the secret that ties all these habits together into a force that makes respect unavoidable, permanent, and magnetic. Here's the truth few people grasp. Respect is not earned by chance. It is unavoidable when all your habits align. Every habit we've discussed, keeping promises to yourself, enforcing boundaries, speaking with conviction, living by values, controlling emotions, practicing strategic silence, building competence, and mastering presence, forms a system. Each piece strengthens the others. Together, they create a force field of authority that others cannot ignore. Most people fail because they try to chase respect externally. They negotiate it, perform for it, demand it. They don't realize that respect is a reflection of internal alignment. The moment you change inside, the world responds automatically. Think about it. When your words, actions, energy, and standards all line up, people sense certainty. They sense reliability. They feel safety in your presence. That certainty is magnetic. That alignment is what makes respect unavoidable. This is why consistency is more important than occasional brilliance. One act of courage may impress, but consistent, aligned behavior builds a reputation that precedes you. People don't just notice your actions, they internalize your authority. It becomes a part of how the world interacts with you. Here's a deeper insight: respect is amplified when you embody your standards without ego. You don't need to announce it, you don't need approval. You simply exist in alignment with your values. People feel it, they respond, and their respect becomes effortless and automatic. Another secret is patience. Respect accumulates over time. Each promise you keep, each boundary you enforce, each calm response and pressure, each moment of competence, all of it compounds. The world notices patterns far more than isolated moments. Advanced individuals understand that respect is a byproduct, not a goal. They focus on living with integrity, on continuous growth, on presence, on emotional control. The respect they receive is natural, inevitable, and enduring. And here's the most powerful point: the force that makes respect permanent is internal mastery. When you master yourself, your promises, your energy, your values, your reactions, you remove the dependence on external validation. You no longer ask for respect, you embody it. At that level, respect is no longer fragile. It doesn't waver with moods or opinions. It doesn't need reinforcement. It becomes a natural response of everyone around you. So here's the challenge: apply these habits relentlessly. Start with one, then layer the next. Watch how the world begins to adjust. Watch how people lean in, trust more, and naturally treat you with the authority you embody. Respect is not a gift, it is a reflection, a mirror of your internal standards. And when those standards are unwavering, respect becomes your permanent reality. You are no longer chasing it. You are no longer hoping for it. You are living it, and the world cannot help but notice.